What's up again, everyone? All right, so we're back with part number 11 of our EQ and filter series. So this time around, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the low pass filter sweep and the low pass filter sync. So in parts number 8 and 9 of this series, I went over the high pass iterations of these plugins. The principle is pretty much still the same. For this exercise, I'm going to isolate the vocal. Let's play that back for a moment, give you an idea of what it sounds like.
Time on you.
All right, so that's our vocal. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to implement the low pass filter sweep. All right, so just like the high pass iteration of it, we have the same features. We have our wet dry knob here, where we can decide the level of intensity of the low pass effect. We have our low frequencies. Now remember, these move from 0 to 100. It's almost as if though it's a percentage, right, as opposed to a definitive frequency. And then of course we have the high pass. Frequency, which also moves from 0 to 100. And down here we have our resonance. Let's just talk about this section for a moment. So with the low pass and high pass frequencies, from what I'm gathering, what you're doing is you're altering the intensity of the lower and upper bounds of the low frequency spectrum. I believe that ranges, from what I'm hearing, it ranges anywhere. It ranges from 0 to maybe 800 hertz. So basically, if I set this when I set the low frequency, I'm saying the lower bound, and then I'm saying the higher bounds, right? And remember, you also, so basically it's almost like you're adjusting the Q of the frequency band. Try to think of an elliptical bell curve, right? And what's happening is like this bell curve is sweeping back and forth. By changing the lower bounds, you either expand or reduce the level of, you expand or reduce that frequency band, and with the upper bounds you expand and reduce. So basically you're just widening or narrowing the bell curve. And of course we have our resonance for harmonic content. So let's go over to our rate here. So the rate, okay, so what is the rate tethered to? Okay, just like with lessons, not lessons, I'm thinking about my students right now. Just like with parts 8 and 9 of the series, this is tethered to a low frequency oscillator, and which is basically the modulator responsible for moving that bell curve back and forth. Now, it is not evident that that's happening right here. It is not ostensible at all. There's nothing here that would indicate that there's an LFO present. However, the LFO, not unlike a modular synthesizer, the LFO is running in the background. So let's see, let's activate the low pass filter sweep, and let's do a little experiment here. Let's expand the lower bounds. So more lower frequencies now. More higher frequencies. It's just wider. Now, exactly. Now let's up the rate. So now we're dealing with extreme highs and extreme lows with a relatively high rate. All right, let's narrow the low frequency. So now you hear more of the higher frequencies because I've increased the technically what I've done is I've increased the lower frequency. So now it's not as close to 0 as it was. Now it's closer to more like 500. $600, maybe. I assume maybe it goes to 1,000. All right. Now, subsequently, if I lower the high frequency, now you hear more of a low frequency sweep.
waste all of my time on you. On you.
And again, you can alter the resonance for effect.
I wasted all of my time on you. On you.
So you see, that's pretty much what the low pass filter sweep is doing. Now, let's see. Let's deactivate that one for a moment. Now let's take a look at the high pass filter sync. If you notice, the controls are almost identical, with the exception of one thing. If you look at the rate knob, the settings are more perfunctory. Now the settings are tethered to note divisions. See, in this instance, the LFO is tethered to the tempo of the sequence itself. So if I do the exact same thing, the sweeping will be more perfunctory. It'll move in accordance to the tempo of the song according to the rate that we choose.
I wasted all of my time on you.
Let's activate it first.
I wasted all of my time on you.
So now we have more of a 2, 3, 4, and yeah. All right. Good for effects. All right, so for the most part, these plugins are pretty much identical to one another. The only difference is that with the low pass filter sweep, the LFO moves freely, and with the with the low pass filter sync, the LFO moves more perfunctorily or to the tempo of the sequence in and of itself. So if you're looking for precision, I say go with the low pass filter sync. If you're looking for more of a free flowing effect, go with the low pass filter sweep. All right, and that pretty much does it for the low pass filters that are tethered to LFOs. Let's see, in part 12, I'll do the low pass filters, the run-of-the-mill low pass filters and the low pass shelving filters. I may do 12 and 13, or I may merge them just as I did these, because again, the high pass iterations are the high pass iterations are pretty much identical to these inserts. So, okay, I won't bore you with the semantics is what I'm saying. All right, guys. So if you have any questions about anything that I've covered today, let me know. Please leave the questions in the comments and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Thanks.